What's his friends? Hiking buddies. I think it looks like an adventure. I bet a bunch of this traffic noise will go away as soon as we get down in here. Listen to that. Well, welcome back, hiking buddy. I'm glad you came. Come? I'm glad you've come. Just on my walk home from the gym. If you've seen a few of my videos before, this may look familiar. May not. Part of the nice thing about walking and hiking a lot is that you end up seeing your surroundings in a lot of different ways. It's really beautiful, I think. So how's life since we last talked? Mine feels pretty good. Just been doing a lot of walking, some filming, some making my own music. That's actually down to the hardest part these days is writing music to go with each one. Not that it's a huge part of the videos themselves, it's not. It's more sort of underscore, but at the same time, it's nice to have it. And I don't want to rely on somebody else's music. So then I'd have to give them credit. I don't want to do that. It's all me, all mine. Brah. No. But it's an extremely pleasant evening. I've been thinking about how I'm going to approach hiking during the winter. I think that's probably when my gym membership will come in handy. I don't know how much you know about winter in my area, but it gets cold. And hiking isn't super safe in the dead of winter. But, you know, I'm thinking I'm going to do it as often as is possible, if for no other reason, just to keep in shape and try and ward off some of that holiday fat. You know how that goes. Oh. Hello. You know, one thing that's hard for me to wrap my head around, and I've been thinking a lot about lately, is how exactly I fit into Christian culture. See, I grew up as a Christian. I was a pastor's kid. My dad was a pastor in the Pentecostal Churches of God, which is an organization of churches that were Pentecostal, obviously. And he was kind of a big deal until he wasn't. And there was a whole downfall of that I don't really want to get into. But in the end, I ended up seeing a lot of the ugly sides of churches when they found out how things went down, and when I saw how they were treating my mom as a single mother with 3 kids, and when I began to understand the political nature of church, it really felt like a betrayal of sorts. Here are these people that I'd shared my life with, who I thought were my best friends forever, you know, who I thought, surely I'll know this person till I die or they die. And all of a sudden they're just swept out of my life and I'm persona non grata. It was a really difficult blow for me. Hello, friend. Hello. And it made me pull away from church and pull away from belief and pull away from faith and my relationship with God. And I got to a point where I considered myself an atheist. As I think I said before in one of my other videos, you know, it made sense to me that God could either be all loving or all powerful, but not both. And I believed that to my core, or I used to. But I didn't understand the reason for hard times back then. And I really didn't understand how people who called themselves Christ-like could be so not. You know? Hello. So it was just a learning experience for me. And I resolved to just quit the church, basically. And I stayed in that state for 10, 15 years, something like that. And it wasn't until a friend invited me to come and live with them in a city. I was finishing up my PhD, and they wanted me to come and live in their city so that we could be close together. And they invited me to come and live in their new house. I thought that was extremely generous. And when I moved in, they were going to a church called Substance, and I thought the name was kind of weird, but I was on board. But I was on board because I had seen what going to different churches did to families, and I didn't want to be the cause of marital strife in my newlywed friends. And so, rather than cause that strife, I opted to go to their church, not really being a Christian, just sort of saying, well, I can endure this one day a week, you know, just to promote the general peace and goodwill that doing such a thing together promotes. And so I did. And as I did, I grew to find out that these people were really loving and accepting, no matter what situation you were coming from. It didn't matter that I was the evangelical boogeyman of atheists. Not that I advertised that, but I was. And it didn't matter. They loved me nonetheless. So I found that fabulous, and I wanted more of it, and I wanted to ensure that the place succeeded, because I figured there weren't enough places in the world that were like that, especially not in the United States. Look. So I kept going, and I slided down the Slippery Creek Bank, Slippery Creek Bank, into service in the church. Served on the coffee team. I went to their growth track to find out what their church was about. And I wanted to be convinced, but I wasn't yet. So one night I was out on a walk, not so very different from this. And I looked up at the moon and I said, okay, God, I don't know if you're really real or if you're just some sort of energy that I felt in my youth. Whatever you are, I'm gonna need something. Some kind of assurance, a sign, something. And then I felt the prompting of the Spirit, and by that I mean I felt a feeling that I should go home and talk to my friend about something in particular. And when I got there, she was there by herself, and I talked to her about it. The subject is between she and I. And she received what I said, and I went to bed not thinking anything more of it. But the very next day, that friend's sister came up and told me that if I wanted to believe, if I wanted to expand my faith, if I wanted to be forgiven and be given grace, that I had to forgive myself. And you know what? I hadn't forgiven myself. So I took that as all the verification I needed. With that in hand, I dove straight in and became a member of the church. And a few months later, I became an intern in the church. And I've been doing that for almost the last year now. And I haven't looked back. It's been a fabulous season of life. And I have friends that would be upset with me and call me gullible and do all these things that would seem to indicate that I'd taken an easy way out. Well, let me tell you, a year of service is not an easy way out, first off. Second, I have struggled intellectually to make this work in my head, and I can guarantee that my struggles will not be the same as someone else's struggles. Some people will find it easier to believe. Some people will find it harder to believe. Some people will never believe. I'm not here to judge anyone. I am here, in a way, to say what worked for me. And this way of Christianity, loving on people, making the mission of the Sunday service to reach out and gather those people who are unchurched and invite them into community. I think that's a spectacular way to do church. And I'm all for it for the rest of my life. I'm all in. I want more. I think too often it's easy for us, especially right now, especially politically, to take a whole group of people and write them off completely. It's easier. And evolutionarily, we're trained to do that, right? We recognize the in-group from the out-group, the safe person from the bad person. And we separate them out. We don't mix with people in our out group because they're the enemy. And that's, first off, really far too simplistic. And anybody with any honesty knows that that's too simple, right? Nobody is always or ever anything. There are very few things in the universe that are binary. So when we think about Christians, it's really easy for us from an evolutionary standpoint to write them off as part of our out group. And once we've experienced pain in one church, we can say, well, that pain is a possibility, it's a danger in all churches. So why go? Well, I can say that Not all churches are the same. But in your mind, you know that. In the end, I think it comes down to what in your life would be different if you surrounded yourself with people who had your best interest at heart. If you surrounded yourself with community, if you surrounded yourself with people who are committed to doing good in the world. What about your life would change if you did that? Okay. So if those changes would be good, and if you're being honest with yourself, I think you'll find that most people have room for improvement in their community. If you think that there's room for improvement, what are you waiting for? Go find that community. For me, I found that community at Substance. Found it very true and sure, and you know, I've only been in this state since, for 12 years, and I've only been a Christian again for a year and a half. So there are some cultural things that I just don't get. There are some things that really make me stand out as part of the out group. But at this church, they don't really seem to care. Yes, there are deeper levels that I'm not going to reach without learning some of the mores and the taboos, learning what values are deeper than the spoken values. But I think as long as I have God as my guide and His Word is my guide, then any church should be better than being alone. I'm not going to tell you that people aren't going to hurt you. We all exist in a world that has natural rules and laws that govern the way people interact, and people have free will. They can do what they want. They can do you wrong, even if they're in a church. I'm not going to tell you that's not going to happen. What I will tell you is if you don't expose yourself to community, you'll never find it. If you don't give yourself the opportunity to find the love of Christ, it may find you. It may hit you on the head a little bit along the way. You may like seeking it out a little better than having it find you. But I tell you what, your life will be enriched for having done so. We often talk at Substance about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, how we start with the basic needs. Need food, shelter, water, and work your way up the hierarchy to self-actualization and then transcendence. Right? And transcendence is understanding that our purpose here is to serve others. I've never known a church that was more focused on serving others. The Sunday service is dedicated to serving others. It's crazy. It's crazy that it works, but it does. And I'm so glad that it does, because they served me, and now I'm serving them. Anyway, I didn't mean to get off on a tangent about my church. I'm just excited about them. You know, my life is pretty much great. I have some minor gripes, as everyone does. Some people have major gripes. Some people have it a lot worse than I do. Some people have it a lot better than I do. But what's plain to me is that if I can keep a level head about things, if I can be calm in the face of adversity and trust in God when I need to, that the serenity that comes with that is priceless, really. It's completely priceless. I don't have to worry, because God's got my back. I'll say it again for the people in the back. I don't have to worry, because God's got my back. I'm really glad you're coming with me on my walk today. I think I needed someone to talk to. I think we all do from time to time. Sometimes we just need somebody to listen. I'm happy to respond to your comments if you have something you need to get out. Looks like they mowed the soccer field. I don't know how to tell you this now that I'm halfway across the mowed soccer field, but I am allergic to fresh cut grass. And I'm starting to feel a tingle in my nose. But I don't dare sneeze in the situation we're in right now. People will look at me from a quarter mile away if I sneeze. It's a really cute neighborhood we're coming up on. Just cute little street names and things. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a Choctaw. I'm native. Now I've given myself a little ethos with all the white people following my hiking my hiking videos, because now I'm a Native American tracker, right? That's the trope anyway. No, I'm not terribly good at trekking, and I've never lived on a reservation. Matter of fact, I didn't know I was Choctaw until I was already a teenager. I was raised white, as it were. Didn't discover my heritage until after my parents were already divorced, and my dad didn't care whether or not I knew at that point. I found out because I got my CDIB card in the mail. The CDIB card, for those who don't know, is a certificate of degree of Indian blood, which means they have calculated the degree of my blood that is native to the nearest fraction based upon my lineage as it relates to the Dawes rolls. Now, I've run into some natives who don't even know this part, but the blood quantum system that is established in the Dawes Act is really a kind of an insidious thing. You see, if people are only as native as 100%, if you're only a registered member from the Dawes rolls, then if you want to maintain that blood quantum, you have to marry another tribal member who is enrolled in the Dawes rolls. And you can see, as we had populations in the hundreds for some tribes, maybe tens of thousands on the high sides for some larger tribes, eventually you have to either inbreed or you have to dilute your blood quantum. The result is, eventually, there are no natives, according to the government. So it's a really insidious cultural inheritance that we have. Unfortunately, many of my cousins and other tribes didn't discover the insidiousness of it until it had been written into their tribal charters. And so they require a certain blood quantum of their members in order to gain the benefits of being a member of the tribe, which is tragic. Because eventually, not even the people who try their darndest to maintain that blood quantum will be able to. and those tribes will disappear. At least officially. The Choctaw have managed not to impose such a rule. If they had, I would not now be a tribal member. I am not native enough, according to Colonel Custer and President Jackson. So I'm very happy that my tribe was able to preserve that part of our heritage. I wish we'd been able to preserve more. We're a Christian native nation, and well, I appreciate that. I do wonder what's lost in our traditional religious beliefs. I do believe in great diversity, and we were monotheistic, which is why it was easy for the missionaries to convert us. I wonder the ways in which we worship the Great Spirit and how much of the truth we may have had, if any. I don't know, such questions are a bit beyond me, I think. A bit beyond any of us, really. Honk honk, friends. Honk honk. I think it's locked. You're good. I don't know what else to say, so I think we'll be done for today. Thanks for walking with me. See you next time.